like straight out of college, something like that would be much better. But anyway, we have some great stuff to talk about, and I am really excited to kick off the new year talking about our first subject, which obviously has to do with New Year's resolutions. And what's the number one New Year's resolution? Lose weight. And this is an interesting one because it doesn't just impact people that health-wise need to lose weight. Everyone wants to lose the weight after the holidays. So this is pretty much an introduction to Javita. It's what we started with, it's what we stand for, and it's basically our flagship products are weight management products because everybody is looking to be a better self. And with Javita, what we've done is not just make one product, we've made several. And I'm hoping to bring some clarity to why we've done this, but it's basically because no two people are the same. Obviously, it's easy for some people to lose weight. We all hate them. But most of us struggle with it, and it's usually because of something underlying, whether it's our genetics, whether it's our gender, whether it's our lifestyle. All of these things can impact whether or not we can easily lose weight or become the best fit that we were looking for. And so when Javita set out to design weight management products, we were looking to basically make the most concise formulas that can reach the most people. It's not about a one product for everybody. That's never going to work, especially today. Everybody's experiencing different things, so we need to make sure that we can reach the masses, but that we have enough alternatives if one thing doesn't work. So that's why we mean by saying real products for real people looking for real results. Now, a lot of you might be familiar with these three products. I'm going to walk through the science behind them and how we developed them. But before I jump into them, I do want to talk a little bit about the obesity epidemic. This is nothing new. When they coined this term almost 20 years ago, it was this groundbreaking thing. We couldn't believe how unhealthy we've gotten, especially in the United States, and we've trickled to the rest of the world. You can see some stats here. Tonga actually ranks first now, and they said it's because of our influence. So something great we've done out there, but this stat is just staggering that over 70% of females in Tonga are obese. And this is what I want to point out with this particular stat, because like I said, the obesity epidemic's been around for a long time, but usually we've kind of played with the statistics to make it seem worse than it is. We used to lump in overweight with obesity when we talked about the big staggering numbers and that 50% of the US is either overweight or obese. We don't have to do that anymore. Now we just talk about obesity because as you can see down here, the definition of overweight is a BMI or body mass index of 25 to 30. But a BMI of over 30 is considered obese, and that's where you start to see these really big comorbidities that come into play. Well, if you look at the stat here, over 35% of both men and women in the United States are obese. So we're not even talking about overweight anymore. This epidemic is getting worse. That's why it's so critical that we have products that actually work. It's very confusing out there when you're talking to your friends and your loved ones about Javita. You're able to deliver something that's very concise and very easy to understand. When you look at the products that are on the market, there's hundreds of weight loss products in the market. Everything from pharmaceutical to surgical to nutraceutical to fad diets. I know that my sister was telling me about this diet where you only eat fat. Right. Sorry, it hasn't worked for her. So I keep trying to explain that to her, and she's finding herself more unhealthy. So, but that's where we're going to go into the science here and talk about products that really work, that are efficacious, and why they are. So there's one key nutrient that we've chosen to include in all three of our products, and that's the Garcinia cambogia. It's a fruit product. It's from Southeast Asia. It's actually called the Malabar tamarind. And it is a fruit that was used, I mean, honestly, for as long as they've had it in Southeast Asia. They've added it to their food, and they cook with it. And the reason being, it has this ability to create a feeling of fullness. And this was kind of just a happy side effect. They like the taste, but it's a happy side effect of the product, and so they would cook with it for years and years and years. And we finally got a hold of it and said, hey, there's something here. Let's start looking at this and seeing what's going on here, what is actually having these benefits. Because the appetite suppression that we were seeing was directly linked to weight loss. but we were seeing dramatic weight loss, much more than calorie restriction alone. So we knew there had to be something else than just appetite control with the Garcinia. Before I walk you through the science, I want to point out that we only use a patented form of Garcinia in our product. It's called Super Citramax. And this is critical because when you leave a presentation like this, where I'm going to be throwing out a lot of science, I have a lot of facts and figures here that you're going to want to write down, but a lot of it you're going to want to go back and Google, you're going to want to do the research, and I strongly encourage that. But one of the things that you'll notice, Garcinia has both positive and negative press out there. And one of the reasons is because a lot of the Garcinia research is done on a non-patented form. Now, we're dealing with a natural product here. When we get a shipment in of any natural product, we immediately have to run it through an HPLC, which is a chromatograph that's basically a fingerprint of a botanical, so that you know this brown powder is exactly what it's supposed to be. Well, that fingerprint varies from plant to plant, depending on the region it grows in, depending on the climate, the growing conditions, the rain that year. It will impact how much of certain compounds are in that product. Well, some clinical researchers, they're just getting their material in, they're running their products, the studies, that's what they're supposed to do. But that doesn't mean that it's going to have the efficacious dosages of the actives in them. So by using only a patented form of this particular botanical, we guarantee that we are using the efficacious dosages and the ones that are proven in clinical trials to work. So make sure you're looking at that with all of your products, not just with Garcinia, every natural product. You're going to see the positives and negatives. If you have questions about whether a study is legitimate, if it was run well, send it over to me. I'd be happy to take a look at it for you and let you know if there's legitimacy to it. So, as I mentioned, Garcinia does have other benefits besides just appetite suppression. It had everything. We were seeing side effects for anti-inflammation, reduction in oxidative stress, and even insulin resistance. So all of these were being impacted somehow positively by this particular product. And we found that it's because of an active compound called hydroxycitric acid. We call it HCA for short. This powerful compound is found in very high concentrations in this fruit product. And we were able to take it through cellular studies, so in vitro studies. We actually looked at it on a cellular level to determine exactly what it's doing. And we found two distinct mechanisms. First, and this is a mouthful, so you don't have to try to repeat this when you're going out and talking about the product, but I want you to have the background because I know there's a lot of medical professionals here. It activates hypoxia-inducible factor. So what that does is it has the ability to release the fat that's been stored in your body as energy. Now we all know that you consume calories. Calories are burned off as our energy through whether it's actual physical activity or just cellular processes. They're burning calories all the time. Well, if you don't use up all the calories that you consume, which most of us don't, it will be converted over through a process called lipogenesis and stored as fat. To release it from that fat store, your body has to go into this state, almost a stress state of either starvation, so that it needs to use it, or you have to stimulate the opening, if you will, of those fat cells. And that's what HCA does. It stimulates hypoxia-inducible factor, which tells your body, hey, release the fat, we need it. Well, then you have the ability to increase your energy levels, exercise, which we all want, and still be able to burn that fat off. The second way that it works is along that same lipogenesis pathway, it has the ability to go in and disrupt the formation of these new fat cells. So while you're consuming your calories, the HCA will help to block some of those excess calories from being converted over. It doesn't block all of them because we still need our fat stores for when we go periods of time without eating, which happens during the day just through our normal activities. But it inhibits enough of it that we see dramatic drops in these fat stores. And although we're able to identify this in vitro, we wanted to make sure this was really happening in the body, particularly that second mechanism. To know that it's truly blocking the lipogenesis pathway, you should be left with excess of fat metabolites. They haven't been converted over and stored. So you should have these free-floating fat metabolites. The way that we measure those and see if it really happens in the human body is by a rise in urinary excretion of these fat metabolites. So basically, your body's pushing them out. And that's exactly what we see in the clinical evidence. So I'm going to walk you through some of these clinicals to show you what type of evidence there is that translates from these in vitro trials into in vivo, in the body. This, I thought you guys, I know it's really small, but if you want to snap a picture of it, this is a summary of the trials that have been conducted, multi-center clinical studies on hydroxycitric acid from Garcinia cambogia. And if you can see the outcome, I know it's small, don't worry, we're going to walk through some of these, but I just wanted you to see there's multiple studies out there. So, and this is just the ones that were on our product. So, very positive results. You guys got it? Okay. I want to walk you through some of the initial ones here. You guys follow me out? Richard. Can you advance the slide, please? Thanks. All right, so the first study I want to walk through, again, when you're looking at the research, as you will, when you go home, look for the type of trial. Not every trial needs to be structured this way to determine statistical significance, but almost every weight loss trial should. It should be a double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized trial. This means that placebo effect of taking a product and losing weight, we diminish that. So you want to look for a good structure in order to get statistical significance. So this one followed 90 obese subjects, both men and women. We saw, and again, these numbers are statistically significant, a decrease in body weight and BMI of 5.4%, but even more pronounced than that was the ability to make our blood lipids in a more healthy state. So those are things like reducing our LDL cholesterol, which is our bad cholesterol, increasing our HDL cholesterol, and reducing our triglycerides. And you can see all of these were done with statistical significance. Now, going back to the original use for the product with appetite suppression, we were able to figure out that one of the ways that we suppress the appetite was through craving reduction. And the reason being, this product has the ability to increase serotonin levels. And as we all know, serotonin is a neurotransmitter modulator. So it helps to stimulate GABA, the happy hormone that makes us all feel great about the world. Well, serotonin is increased when we eat food. Just through tryptophan being in food. We all know tryptophan's from turkey because everyone's happy after a big turkey dinner. Yeah. Tryptophan's found in lots of other foods, and it's a popular amino acid that's just found naturally in our diet. And when we consume it, serotonin levels go up, and we have this feeling of well-being, which makes us not need to eat. And you can see, just by taking Garcinia, the HCA from Garcinia, serotonin levels increased by 44.5%. So huge spike, similar to what you see from eating a very full meal. And again, you're not getting all those excess calories. Now, I talked about that urinary excretion of fat metabolites, so blocking the formation of new fat cells. We saw an increase in that, so pushing it out of the body, of 32 to 109%. Yeah, really big numbers here. When you're talking about blocking fat and fat blockers, which I hate that term because it was way overused a decade ago and none of the products did anything. This truly is stopping that pathway. So we are seeing the excretion is translating into the human body, and we're getting huge results with no adverse events. And that's a big deal. You want the people that you're introducing our products to keep taking them. If they have adverse events, are they going to keep taking them? And then they're not going to see the results, right? So having no adverse events is huge with a weight loss product. Now, visceral fat accumulation, belly fat. This is one we hear about all the time on telemarketing commercials and all sorts of stuff. They always talk about belly fat this, belly fat that. Belly fat or visceral fat is a huge deal. It's not just about overall weight loss. If you're carrying around belly fat, which is a specific type of fat that does collect around the abdomen, your chances of morbidity from all of those diseases, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, skyrocket. It's a very different type of fat. And in this particular study, we were looking at, again, a well-designed study, we were looking at whether or not we could reduce that belly fat specifically, not just overall weight loss and not just BMI. And you can see they had healthy individuals that happen to be obese, which it sounds like you can't have both, you can. In this particular study, they looked at the people that had a very high percentage of visceral fat, and they found that they were able to reduce the visceral fat percentage regardless of gender. And that's a big deal because as women, we all tend to say men can lose weight so much easier than us. We tend to carry it around our midsection. It's true. Our hormones play a huge role in why we accumulate visceral fat over men, but it is just as big of a problem now in men. Well, Garcinia is not gender specific. It goes after those visceral fat stores and helps to reduce them by significant percentages. Again, walking through another one of the trials talking about the urinary excretion of fat metabolites. I wanted to put this one up as a separate trial just to show that it's not just one trial that makes us formulate a product with a certain botanical. We look at multiple trials. We look at the structure of the trials, and we make sure that they're repeatable results. Otherwise, it might have just been a fluke, if you will, and why would we put that on the market? It's not going to have any success. So this was a follow-up trial. They were able to show the same statistical drop in, same statistical rises in the urinary fat excretion, the metabolite excretion. So we know that we're blocking those fat stores, but also the huge drop in the BMI, the body weight, and the regulation, the leveling out of these blood lipids to a healthier level. One of the other things I want to point out, and I say this a lot in our calls, if any of you are on our conference calls every month, when we formulate a product, we look at all of the data first. Whether we run our own trials or whether we're using trials that are run by huge centers like the NIH, we look at what dosages they used in those trials to make sure that what we are actually putting into the formula is the proper dosage that's going to get an effect. So the dosages that we are using of the Super Citramax product are those clinical dosages you saw in those charts. So you can rest assured that what you are taking follows in line with the trials. Now, looking at the appetite suppression, the initial reason we started looking at this product as nature's miracle for weight management was appetite suppression. We were able to see that in this particular trial, because we wanted to see if a placebo has a similar effect, because you're talking about appetite suppression, sometimes that is a feeling. I mean, it's something that we want to know, are we having a placebo effect? So in this one, the same individuals went through a washout period. So they did take the product, then they took the placebo, and they found that they naturally decreased their consumption of food. They were still offered all the same foods during the trial. They decreased it by 15 to 30%. So they just naturally were eating a third less food, even though it was offered to them, because they no longer felt the need. And body weight decreased because of that. And it was only in the Garcinia group. It wasn't in the placebo group, so we know it was statistically significant. And this one I like because we saw those increases in serotonin, so we know what was happening with the appetite, but we wanted to see if it was really translating to body weight loss. But looking at the actual serotonin itself, as I mentioned, serotonin is that modulator, that neurotransmitter modulator, and we wanted to see, is it truly the serotonin that is reducing the appetite and giving that feeling of fullness? And we were able to see it in multiple trials, these huge spikes in serotonin and diminution of appetite. Now, when we're putting a formula together, we look at safety. We're talking about natural products here, and we know that they've been around forever. People are taking them all the time. That doesn't mean they're safe for everybody. There's a lot of pharmaceutical drugs that are built around natural products. That's where a lot of drugs actually come from, is looking at isolating compounds from natural products. They shouldn't be taken by everyone. Not everyone should take every drug out there. So when we're looking at a formula for weight management, we're probably going to be offering it to everybody we meet, which we want to make sure that what we're looking at is truly safe. So again, the product that we use is this patented Super Citramax that has been through a multitude of safety trials. Before it could even stand trial with humans, it has to go through these special trials. And this is one thing I wanted to point out. If anyone's here familiar with lethal dose, lethal toxic dose, it's an actual scientific term where they're trying to determine how much of a product it takes to kill a rat. From an animal perspective, it's horrible, but we have to do it if we're going to take it to human trial. And you try to find an LD50, which is the minimum dose it takes to kill half of your lab animals. And you can see, based on our lethal dose tox trial, they were dosing these rats at 2,500 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. So for every kilo that the animal weighs, they were putting 2,500 milligrams of straight HCA into these animals and not killing them. So the reason I point this out is because you all always ask me how much of a product can you take. Always the recommended dosage, because I know all of you are filming me. Always take what we recommend on the box. But I like to drink 3 cups of coffee a day. And I know that I love our burning control coffee. And I'm going to take 3 cups of coffee a day. I can rest assured it is not going to cause me harm. So I just want to put that out there for you. Now, this is not the only ingredient that we've chosen to put in these products. We have 3 weight management products, And we know that we're coming at things from more perspectives than just what Garcinia alone does. What we wanted to do was combine it with botanicals that work synergistically, that work together. Sometimes you have botanicals that really are competitive, and they don't work well together, and so we stay away from those. But in the particular case of our burden control, we wanted to pair it up with something that had even more of a metabolic enhancer. You're getting a coffee already, so you're used to caffeine, or you like the feeling of the caffeine. Regardless, we wanted to ramp that up. We have a Garcinia product that helps us with releasing the fat from these fat stores. We want to ramp up our metabolic rate so we can burn it off, right? And what better way to do that than to combine it with yerba mate? It's a brilliant combination because yerba mate has that ability to increase our metabolic rate because of these compounds called xanthine. We're familiar with caffeine as one of them, but there's actually more than 20 different xanthines. And we've combined it with this because together, as a whole botanical product, we're able to ramp up the metabolic rate even more so than a caffeine would. And it's safe, obviously. And the other reason we did it was because when we're looking at what Garcinia does for raising serotonin levels, which helps us with those sweet cravings or cravings for food under stressful situations, yerba mate actually modulates a compound called leptin. Leptin has the ability to, when leptin levels are high, our appetites go down because leptin is released when we eat food. Same thing, but this is contributing to overall appetite. So we're not looking at just stress-induced overeating, anxiety-driven overeating. That's what serotonin is taking care of. This one is taking care of overall appetite. And so when we combine them together, what better way to keep our calorie counts down? So that's what you have in the burden control coffee. In our other two weight management products, you have your lean and green tea, and our new product, our active blends control. We chose to come at it from a different perspective. Not everyone can lose weight with our burden control coffee simply because there's something else at play, and that happens to be our blood sugar regulation. And this is a big issue for a lot of people. If you find that someone's coming up to you saying they've hit a plateau with their weight management, they don't know what's going on, they've been on the burden control coffee, and they've just hit this level, the plateau, we're all familiar with it. Sometimes blood sugar is playing a role. And it doesn't mean that they are pre-diabetic, it doesn't mean that they have diabetes. What it means is that there's some sort of imbalance. Something else is going on in their blood sugar regulation that's causing them to hang on to their fat stores. And that's where this combination comes into play. We combine the Garcinia with Gymnema sylvestre because it's been shown with its high concentration of tricyklic saponins that it's able to both reduce the absorption of glucose in the intestines, and most recently, some clinical trials just in the last 2 years have shown that it may also help to reduce the production of glucose by the liver. So both of these are going to play an active role in helping us not to convert those sugars over and absorb them so quickly and actually be able to burn them off with the combination of the Garcinia. So this is what we have in the other two products. And again, because we don't have that high concentration of xanthines in these two products, for someone who's looking to avoid stimulants like caffeine, either one of these products are going to be a great addition to their weight management routine. One thing I want to point out about our green tea, how many of you guys like our green tea just because it's green tea? Good. I'm so glad that you guys say that because in the United States, we don't drink green tea the way we should. We not only source the highest quality green tea on the market. I mean, nothing can touch it in terms of quality. It's like a premier wine. But green tea alone, even without the benefits of Garcinia and Gymnema, green tea can help prolong your life by significant rates. And for those of you that were at convention, we had just pulled up a study. It was just concluded as a multi meta-analysis where it pulled in just about every study on green tea that had to do with green tea and some sort of mortality, whether it was cancer, diabetes, stroke, heart disease. And they looked across the board and said if you just consume a cup of green tea a day, you can reduce your mortality rate by 4%. I mean, we just need to start adding this into our diet, folks. It's just cut and dry. It tastes great. It's non-stimulatory. You can drink it before bed. So it's just one of those things that we need to get the message out there about it. And honestly, I'm hoping that I have the chance to talk to you guys all because I didn't get to say it when I first came in because I was kind of rushed right up here. But I don't get to talk to you guys enough. A lot of you send in your information, send in your messages, send in your success stories, but also your problems. but I don't get to talk to you face to face and really hear what it is you all are doing out there. I get to hear it kind of a roundabout way rather than seeing it from you, and you guys are the reason that I'm here. You make my job fun because you guys are the ones spreading the message and getting people to these optimal levels of health. And so I just really encourage you, reach out to me, reach out to the office, send in your questions. If you guys find that you come in contact with a problem situation, for example, I'll be the first to tell you I am not a doctor. Even if I was, I'm not your doctor. So I can't advise, but I can tell you an awful lot about plants and natural products. I've been around a long time, but I can do the research for you. If it gets a little overwhelming out there, wading through all of the articles and all of the public peer-reviewed journals, I love that. Send it my way, I'd be happy to do it, and that's where we get a lot of our lead-in for our new product development. So please, come seek me out, talk to me. I am so glad to be with you all. Thank you so much.